No, sadly, no egg riddles. But hey, enough of that. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the stream of, well, Fiesta done really, really slow because, hey, we're quickly King Omega, and what better thing to do than to reign more lone wolf? So, yeah, essentially, what's happened ever since the last time that we've read one of these? Because, yeah, we've definitely have done quite a fair bit of things, and some people might not remember what this is all about. But, yeah, we're Lone Wolf, we are the last Kai Master of Summerland, and, yeah, we're collecting a whole bunch of lore stones in order to be able to resurrect the Kai Order from the ashes. So, yeah, I mean, we might as well just go with the story so far so that, you know, this is the first and only time I'm gonna read it into its entirety just because, at that point, we need all of the recap. You are the warrior Lone Wolf, last of the Kai Masters of Summerland and sole survivor of the massacre that destroyed your kinsmen during a bitter war with your age-old enemies, the Dark Lords of Hel'Jedad. Many centuries have passed since Sun Eagle, the first of your kind, established the Order of the Kai. Aided by the Magician of Desi, he completed a peerless quest to find seven crystals of power, known as the Lorestones of Nyxator. And upon their discovery, he unlocked a wisdom and strength that lay within both the Lorestones and himself. He recorded the nature of his discoveries and his experiences in a great tome entitled The Book of the Magna Kai. You have discovered this lost Kai treasure and have given a solemn pledge to restore the Kai to their former glory, thereby ensuring the security of your land in the years to come. However, your diligent study of this ancient book has enabled you to master only 3 of the 10 Magna Kai disciplines. To fulfill your pledge, you must complete the quest first undertaken by Sun Eagle over 1,000 years ago. By doing so successfully, you too will acquire the power and wisdom of the Magna Kai, which is held within the Lorestone crystal form. Already your quests have taken you far from your northern homeland. Following in the footsteps of the first Kai Grandmaster, you journeyed to Desi and sought the help of the Elder Magi, the magician who aided Sun Eagle on his quest long ago. There you learned that for centuries the Elder Magi have awaited your coming. And inside, an ancient Desi legend tells of the birth and rise to greatness of 2 Kurastakai, which means sons of the sun. One was named Ikar, which means eagle, and the other was named Skarn, which means wolf. A prophecy foretold that the Kurastakai will each come from the north to seek the counsel of the Elder Magi in order that they might fulfill a great quest. Although separated by several centuries, they will share one spirit, one purpose, and one destiny: the triumph over the champions of darkness in an age of great peril. The Elder Magi knew that you were Skarn, the wolf of Desi legend, and in keeping with their ancient vows, they promised to help you complete the Magna Kai quest. In Elzian, the capital of Desi, you were tutored in the histories of Magnamon and received lessons in lore that you would have learned from the Kai Masters if only they, like you, had survived the murderous Dark Lord attack on the Kai Monastery 12 years ago. You were eager to learn all that your tutor, Lord Grimoire, could teach you in preparation for the next stage of your quest, but grim news from the Darkland cut short your tuition. In the Dark Lord city of Hel'Jedad, a civil war had erupted, following your defeat of Hakon, Archlord of the Black City. After 5 years, the battle for the thrones of Hel'Jedad had finally been won by a Dark Lord called Nag. The other Dark Lords, now united behind this new leader, were ordered to amass huge armies in preparation for the conquest of Magnamond. Swiftly, their Gyak legions grew in number, enabling Nag to launch a sweeping invasion that was to catch the Freelands unprepared. Several countries, after brief but futile resistance, were completely overrun by Darkland armies. Others surrendered without fighting in the face of their determined might. And sadly, there were others who chose to betray former friends and allies by joining the Dark Lord cause, in the misguided hope that they will share in the spoils of victory, following the triumph of Dark Lord Nag. One such land was Vasagonia, a powerful desert realm to the north of Desi. Her armies mobilized and invaded the neighboring states of Cassiorn and Cloasia, and then marched west through the Republic of Anari in order to join with Naxord as it steamrolled across central Magnamond. The Elder Magi urged you to begin the quest for the 4 Lordstone had once. The enemy armies were converging on the Anarian capital of Tehu, and beneath that ancient city, the Lorestone lay hidden. Aided by Mage Master Benadon, an old friend and fellow countryman, you set off in haste for Tehu and arrived barely hours ahead of the enemy. Successfully, you made your descent and discovered the object of your quest, but on returning to the surface, you found Tehu transformed into a blazing inferno. Dark Lord Knag and Zakan Kima, the ruler of Vasagonia, had learned of your presence and were determined to destroy you at all costs. For days, their engines of war had hurled fire and rock across the walls of Tehu with devastating effect. Then, a massive assault, led by the Zakan himself, breached the west gate and gained entry to the burning city. Armed with a weapon of awesome power, the evil Zakan sought you out and challenged you to a fight to the death. The struggle was desperate, but you emerged victorious and led the Anarians in a counterattack that cleared the city of the invading foe. The allies of Anari arrived to raise the siege, and in the ensuing battle, the demoralized army of Nag and Kimo were smashed and routed. Your defeat of Zakan Kimo turned the tide of war decisively against the Darkland army and paved the way for the liberation of the land they had taken by force. But the sweet taste of victory turned sour when you discovered that Dark Lord Nag had captured the last 3 remaining Lorestones of Nyxator. Lord Rimo and other members of the High Council of the Elder Magi joined you in Tehu to help formulate a plan of action. They had already received word from Prince Gregor, the ruler of Heru, that one of his patrols had found a man near the borders of the Hell Swamp. He was a Telestrian soldier who had escaped from the dread city fortress of Torgar, where he had been imprisoned after being captured in battle. He had suffered terribly at the hand of the Drakkarim, evil humans in the service of the Dark Lord, and when found he was so badly injured that he was almost unrecognizable. Before he died, he spoke of 3 radiant gems filled with golden light that had been brought to Torgar from the Dark Lord city of Musgoar. We are now sure that what he saw was the arrival of the stolen Lorestone, said Grimoire, speaking on behalf of the High Council. They radiate a goodness so strong that Nag could not hold them in the Darklands, but had to move them to Torgar. There is sorcerers, the Nadzirenim, are searching for the means to destroy them. The black heart of the Nadzirenim have grown powerful of late, and we fear they may achieve the task set them by Nag. Therefore, we must act quickly and with utmost secrecy if the Lorestones and the Magna Kai quests are to be saved. The Elder Magi had already made preparation for your secret journey to Heru, where upon your arrival, Prince Gregor will help you reach the grim city of Torgar. The thought of having to enter the terrible Drakkarim stronghold fills you with dread, but your pledge to destroy the Dark Lords and restore the Kai strengthens your resolve and helps you suppress your fear. On the eve of your journey to Heru, the Elder Magi convene a special meeting of the High Council to pray for the success of your mission. For several hours they kneel in prayer until finally they arise and intone the blessing that have sustained you in the past. May the gods Ishir and Kai protect you on your journey into darkness, Korskarn. So yeah, that's what happened. We're missing only 3 stones, but they've all been taken away by Nag, and we're gonna have to go into their own stronghold in order to be able to get them. So now, if we are to look back at our character and everything that happened, here's our disciplines. We have the ability to divinate in order, which is pretty much like a 5th sense and everything. A 6th sense, I'm sorry. Curing allows us to restore her HP from paragraph to paragraph, as well then cure many diseases. Psyscreen is the ability to protect ourselves from psychic abilities. Batmanship, the ability to never be lost. Nexus, the ability to move objects with our mind and also resist extreme cold and hot. Psysurge is the ability to attack with psionic powers in order to gain an edge in battle. And finally, the newest thing that we got is Weapon Mastery, which is used in order for us to be more skillful with weapons. So now we can get 3 extra points of combat skill whenever we fight with one of the many weapons that we've mastered over here. Here they are. At this point, it almost doesn't matter which one we have not mastered. So now, there's several things that we need to consider before we actually start everything and such. First of all, let's go to the equipment in order to actually see what exactly do we get to carry on. So yeah, first of all, a map of Gatan and its surrounding countries. Let's go and check out what this place is all about. Yeah, the Hammerlands. Like, I don't know. I feel like that will be more the name of a place where you will just open up a hardware store or something like that. And yeah, over here, this is our goal. But where are we starting from? Yeah, we're going to see whenever the adventure will start. But yeah, there we go, Mosgoard. This is where our arch nemesis is actually, hailing from. Okay, and a pouch of gold to find out how much pouch is in the gold. We need to actually, get the random number table and add 10 to it. So, alright, it's time to choose randomly. As this 16. So now we get 16 gold. At this point, how many can we even carry at this point? I feel like we probably owe ourselves to even check this out. Okay, we can bring 8 books. So yeah, 8, and we're gonna keep the 8 other into our safekeeping. And now, what other items do we actually get? We can take 5 items from this list. Remember, you can only carry 2 weapons and 8 backpack items. So yeah, a sword and a bow. I mean, we already have both of these. I don't think, well, both of these. We don't have a bow, but, not a bow, but a sword. But hey, we have a warhammer, and sometimes it's just as good, if not better. A quiver with 6 arrows. We already have 6 arrows. So yeah, rope, potion of loam spur in order to restore endurance point, lantern, mace, 3 meals, and a potion of Alator. Okay, we can carry 5 things in that, so okay. That point. Yeah, we're immediately gonna start with the rope, the loam spur potion, plus 4 EP. Let's bring the Alator. But we also need meals because right now we have none. So, okay, alright, at that point I'd say let's bring 2 meals in order to ensure that we're not gonna starve to death or something like that. As for the combat skill, hopefully we should be good enough at this. Now, each meal takes 1 slot into our backpack, so yep, make sure that you don't bring too many or too little meals. And yeah, we're also gonna have to decide, is any of this worth keeping? It's like, we have a sack of silver, a silver box, a vial of gold dust, and a scroll of honor. It's like, do we actually want to keep those? I feel like, yeah, they might be superfluous into our adventure somehow. Like, we're not here to get rich, we're here in order to educate ourselves. Yeah, fuck it. Alright, sack of silver, forget about it. Scroll of honor, we have no honor. Oh yeah, that's right, that's a good point. Okay, scroll of honor. Sack of silver. What's the other thing? Okay, silver box and vial of gold dust. Okay, alright. And with all of that new spot, another meal. And yeah, let's bring the Alator potion. +2 combat skill. I'm also gonna have to recheck things because I want to be absolutely sure that everything is up to par. Yeah, 20. We've got the summer sword +28, 30, 32. Okay, 35. And if we get to use... actually, yeah, right now, 35, that's without our Psy abilities. So, yeah, if we also factor in Psy, we also get, yeah, I'm just gonna put in, just gonna get myself a little reminder just to be 100% certain that I'm not counting Psy in this. So, alright, now it's time to also take another decision. And this one I will actually bring a poll in order to do it, because this is actually, you know, kind of a big one. Because as you might have seen into the last book that we did, we have this weapon that's called a Summer Sword, which is really, really strong, but it also, you know, had this little thing where, you know, it randomly made the enemy encounter much more difficult than it should have been. So now it's time to take an important question. Do we actually keep the weapon, which will make most of the encounters around here trivial, but then on the other side will make it so that most other encounters in general are gonna be much more difficult and hard to go through, so yep, it's kind of a double-edged sword. Do we get to keep the double-edged sword or not? It's time to vote. I just started a poll, it's time to decide. If we abandon the Summer Sword behind, we're gonna be using our good old trusty Warhammer. Oh yeah, that's I can't even see like the result live somehow. Okay, never mind. I can see them. It's like, yes, definitely took one hell of a lead, but no is chomping at it slowly but surely. Alright, only about 5 seconds to decide. Oh, another vote for yes. Sorry, no comedy option this time. Alright, so the Summer Sword it is. Alright. Looks like we're bringing the sword alongside our adventures. Hell yeah. Okay, alright, with that said, we're all about set up and ready to go, so... Okay, alright. And now time for Magna Chi Wisdom. Your quest to retrieve the last 3 Lorestones of Nyxator from the clutches of the Dark Lord will be fraught with deadly dangers. The evil hosts of El Jedad will summon their most brutal forces to thwart your Magna Chi quest. Make notes as you progress through this story, they will be of great help in this and future adventures. Many things that you will find will help you during your mission. Some special items will be of use in this and future Lone Wolf books, while others may be red herrings of no value at all, so be selective in what you decide to keep. Choose your 3 Magna Chi discipline will care for a while, succession completion is not required, although it's an advantage. The restoration of the Chi in the future depend on your success. Ooh, sorry. Anyway, good luck. It is dawn on Midsummer's Day when you ride out of Tehu. Since your victory over Zakan Kima, even though that's a victory that took us about 10 tries, I'd say, to acquire, Your appearance in a public place has been enough to provoke spontaneous cheering from the Tauis, who regard you as their savior. But on this warm, sunny morning, you leave the city unnoticed, for on this occasion you appear to be just another messenger. The army uniform you wear and the white horse you ride are part of an elaborate deception conceived by the Elder Magi. In order to make Dark Lord Nag believe that you are returning to Summerland, you have given your Kai cloak and tunic to your friend Benodon. Disguised as you, he will leave for Summerland aboard his flying ship Skyrider this afternoon. A formal ceremony is planned to mark his departure, and another awaits his arrival at the King's Citadel in Olmgard. Nag has vowed to kill you. It is a vow which has become an obsession that torments him like a poison wound. It is hoped that Benodon's much-publicized flight home will lure Nag's vengeful eyes away to the north and raise your chances of success at Torgar considerably. Your ride ends in Firina, where you catch a barge downriver to the port of Talon. There you hear news of a rebellion in Barakish, the Vesagonian capital, and reports of the sudden withdrawal of all Vesagonia's troops from the land she invaded early in the war. It bodes well for the continuing struggle against the Dark Lords, for Vesagonia was their only major ally. You spend one night in Talon before buying passage aboard a merchantman on its way along the tent areas, and 5 days later you disembark at Garten, the capital of Telestria. Telestria was overran in the early days of the war, but the neighboring country of Palmyrian came quickly to her aid. The army of Telestria and Palmyrian united and fought the invading horde, led by warlord Zegron of Ogio, on the battle plains to the north of Garten. For 3 days and 3 nights, a bitter struggle raged, and the allies were sorely pressed to withstand the overwhelming numbers of the enemy range against them. But on the morning of the 4th day, the unexpected arrival of the dwarven army of Bor was to seal Zegron's doom. His mighty force crumbled, and the survivors, fleeing northwards in chaos, were pursued relentlessly. The latest news tell of the Allies' capture of Xanar, a major Hojian stronghold, and their continued advance westward along the Black Shroud Trail. The royal court of Queen Evane will be honored to assist you, but secrecy is paramount to the success of your quest, and so you shun the royal palace and take lodgings instead of a humble dockside tavern. There you would arrange transportation to Hiru aboard a brigantine bound for Humboldt, the Eruan capital, and leave next day on the noontide. Upon your arrival, you make your way to the city's ancient quarter, where the Elder Magi have arranged a clandestine meeting with Prince Krager. In the cellar of a disused warehouse, the young prince waits patiently for your coming. Like you, he's dressed in the clothes of a messenger in order that he can walk the streets of his city incognito. He welcomes you with a salute, bringing his hand diagonally across his chest, and assures that your true identity is known only to him. For over an hour, you discuss your plans and listen to the prince recount some of the events that have disturbed the peace of Heru. 2 years ago, Drakkarim renegades from the Hammerland attacked and overran his northern city of Luomi. The inhabitants were slaughtered, and the holy temple of Luomi, around which the city was founded, was looted and burned to the ground. Only recently did he learn from the Elder Magi that the ancient temple held the Lorestone of Luomi, one of the 3 Lorestones now locked in Torgar. At the time of the attack, the prince's army was too small to repel the invader, and he was forced to abandon the city, as well as the border town of Setsa. But in the past month, he has joined forces with King Saranak of Lencia, and together they have recaptured Luomi and driven Baron Shinzar and his Hammerland rebel all the way back to Setsa, within 30 miles of the border. The prince invites you to accompany him to Luomi, where he is to resume command of his army and lead them to battle. He provides you with a fine Herian steed and a new disguise that will enable you to travel through Heru without drawing undue attention to yourself. Dressed as a Eruan Pathfinder, one of an elite unit of woodsmen who operate in the harsh territories bordering the Hell Swamp, you ride north with the prince's entourage and arrive at the city 5 days later. Every house, stable, tavern, and municipal building is filled to overflowing with knights and men-at-arms. But despite their cramped billets and meager rations, the soldiers of Heru and Lencia are in good spirits, for tomorrow they march against a foe they have already beaten in battle, and most are eager to finish the job once and for all. You are given lodging within the main citadel of Luomi, and later that evening, after the prince has attended a war conference with King Sarnak, you meet in private to discuss the next stage of your quest. There are two ways to reach Torgar, says the prince, as you study the map given to you by the Senate of Tehu. You can cross the River Brawl and make your way downward through the Mogador Forest, or you can go to Piercy and seek out Zeb Gerald. He is the leader of a brave band of partisans who have ambushed and resisted the Drakkarim ever since they invaded. If there is a path to Torgar between the Hell Swamp and the Isle of Ghosts, he will know it. You ponder the choices and wonder why the prince has not suggested the simplest route of all, north across the Isle of Ghosts. When you mention this, he shakes his head ominously. "This isle is cursed," he says, pointing at the map with an accusing finger. "Few have ever come out of that dreadful place alive, and of those poor wretches who have survived, only one has kept a grip on his sanity. His name is Zeb Gerald." Next day, you rise with the dawn and prepare to set off on your journey to Torgar. There are two routes open to you. You can ride to Piercy and seek out Zeb Gerald, the partisan leader, and the only man who can guide you through this treacherous wilderness, or you can accompany Prince Gregor to battle at Sedza. If his army beats the Drakkarim and forces them to retreat, the way across the River Brawl will be open, and you will be able to approach Torgar under cover of the Mogador Forest. Consult the map before you decide which route to take. Alright, so now, what path do we take? Right now, we are here. Our options is, we can go over there in order to go through the Hell Swamp and get over there. Or we go over there, we fight for Sedza, and then we cross River Brawl, and then we go to Torgar this way. So alright, it's time to choose. Ghost Island sounds more fun than El Swamp. Okay, go to Piercy. The prince is gonna get killed without us. I mean, it's an hostile place. But yeah, remember, our goal is to avoid the Isle of Ghosts. Like, both of the routes, hopefully we're not gonna go through there. It's like, as I said, the routes are literally whoop or whoop. So yeah, right now, okay, 1 vote for Piercy, 2, 3, 4. 4 votes for Piercy. Oh no, wait, that's right. I'm not doing, no, 1. Okay, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Alright, looks like we have a tie so far. Everybody's torn on the decision of going to Piercy. Oh yeah, that's right. For this one choice, it definitely will be a good plan. That's right. All right. Because after all, it's like the most important decision of the book. Like, the book is kind of split into 2 halves, and yeah, it's kind of deciding as to whatever we go. So all right, poll is up. Piercy or war? Alright, at that point, I might as well look at the poll. Oh, alright. Again, it's a tie! Right, we need somebody to vote in order to break that tie. Yeah, but of course, not everybody is going to go and do the voting. It's like that's totally a thing for the people who are willing to engage themselves. Oh my god, it's a tie! Okay, alright, it's a tie again, so I'd say at this point... What's, what to do? I'd say, yeah, fuck it, let's just do it the simple way and everything. We're just going to go in on our good old random number table. If we get between 0 to 4, we go to Percy. 5 to 9, we go to war. So, alright. War never changes. Alright, it's time to pick a number. 8! We go to war! Alright. Alright, we choose to accompany Prince Gregor to battle at Setzo. Since the first rays of dawn light brightened the eastern sky, the streets of Luomi echoed to the shouts of sergeants and the crunch of wheeled feet. The regiments of Lencio and Heru are taking their places in the column of march, and by mid-morning this column, 6,500 strong, is ready to leave for battle. Company by company, through the city's east gate, they depart, tramping the dusty road that leads to Setzo. When the time comes for you to join them, you take your place with Prince Gregor's escort and fall in line behind the armored knights of the Palace Guard. The army is well protected by Lancian horse scouts before, behind, and on both sides to make sure it is not ambushed whilst crossing the 20 miles of open grassland to Setzo. During the afternoon, a troop of scouts are sent ahead to spy on the enemy. They return to report that Baron Shinzar has fortified the town and received reinforcement from Black Shroud since his defeat at Luomi. The news does not cheer Prince Gregor, for he knows the ground around Setzo does not favor the attacker. It is gloom when the army arrives on the outskirts of town. In the gloom, you can see the enemy campfire flickering between the ruins of cottages that were destroyed when the Drakkarim first invaded this land. Occasionally, their gruff voices can be heard on the chill evening wind as they shout orders and call the name of slaves and attendants. After a whole tiring day marching and with night drawing close, the order goes round that there will be no battle offense this evening. Quickly, the regiment disperse and many fires are lit. Tents are erected for the nights and the baggage carts are unloaded to provide the men with stores that shall make their night in the open less uncomfortable. The prince chooses to position his headquarters on a hill to the north that overlooks the town, and King Sarnak of Lencio chooses a similar position on a hill beyond the road, half a mile to the south. Shortly after the tents are constructed, a message arrives from King Sarnak's headquarters inviting the prince to joining and draw up plans for tomorrow's battle. The prince accepts the invitation and says that you may accompany him if you wish. Alright, do we accompany the prince or do we decline the invitation? Alright, accompany, accept, prince is where the plot is. Alright, go with the prince. Okay, sorry, Karubak, everybody wants to go to Princetown. In the company of a dozen bodyguard and court herald, you follow the prince and he makes his way on foot to King Sarnak's camp. It is his usual practice to inspect his soldier on the eve of battle, to see for himself that all is well and to raise their spirits with a few words of praise and encouragement. He is heartened to discover their morale is already high and they are all confident that he will lead them to victory. At late, you arrive at the ancient headquarters. A huge yellow flag bearing the emblem of a white swan and blue dragon flutters in the breeze above the royal tent where a unit of silver-clad knights stands stiffly to attention. A trumpet announces your arrival and the knights escort you inside to meet the king. After formal greetings have been exchanged, the gray-haired king begins to discuss the impending battle. The prince has brought with him a detailed plan of the town, and as the two leaders formulate their plans, it is used to mark the places where the regiment will assemble and attack the enemy. Like the prince is a big nerd. He somehow attends to the meeting like in with armor and everything. If only we knew the number of reinforcement Baron Shinzar has received, says the king uneasily. Then we could be sure our plans will succeed. The prince nods in agreement. We must send a scout to reconnoitre their defenses, or hundreds of our soldiers could lose their life needlessly in the assault. The king looks in your direction, then returns his eye to the prince. I have no scouts trained for such a delicate operation, he says, but I see you have a pathfinder. Send him. His skills will be well suited to this task. The prince hesitates. He cannot reasonably refuse the king's suggestion, yet to send you into the enemy camp will endanger your life and your quest. Alright, do we volunteer to scout or do we choose to remain silent? Alright. Alright, let's fail spectacularly. Alright, there we go. That's the spirit. Excellent, says King Sarnak. I wish I had a few like you in my own army. He bids you step forward and shows you the extent of the known enemy position using Prince Gregor's map. Once you've been briefed, he sends for some black clothing for you to wear instead of your grey Pathfinder uniform and some burnt cork with which to blacken your face and hands. You are then escorted to the edge of the encampment, close to the dusty road on which the army marched from Luomi. The guard tells you that the password is broadsword. When you return, you must use this word or the pickets, the sentries who guard the perimeter of the camp, may mistake you for one of the enemy. The ground to the west of Setzo is flat and featureless and offers very little cover to conceal your approach. Slowly you work your way through the knee-high grasses to within 20 yards of a stone bridge, where this roadway crosses a foul-smelling ditch and enters the town. Your every movement is stiff with caution now, for the bridge is barricaded and you can see the spiky black helmets of the enemy defender glinting in the moonlight. Snake-like, you wriggle forward, slide down into the ditch and take shelter beneath the stone bridge. With one cheek pressed against the wet stone, you strain your ear to hear what the enemy are saying. You recognize their harsh, ugly language. It is Gyak, but it has been spoken by human voices. The only humans to speak it so fluently are the Death Knight, the elite of the Drakkarim. Suddenly, there's a loud splash that sends your pulse racing. A spirit falling close to where you are hiding and its shaft stands upright in the muddy water. A growling curse is followed by the sound of heavy boots descending the bank as an angry Death Knight comes to retrieve the weapon he has dropped. Alright, do we have the lore circle of Solaris? Nope, we don't have such a thing. So alright, random number table time. If we have invisibility, add 2 to the number. We don't have invisibility, so oops. Alright, let's hope that we draw well then. Alright, we draw 2. With a splash, the Death Knight warrior appears, his massive frame filling the archway. He curses his clumsiness and snatches up his spear, but his curses turn to shout of alarm when he sees you beneath the bridge. Okay, do we want to use our ability of Psy Surge? Do we attack him? Or do we escape from beneath the bridge and run to the safety of the allies' camp? Okay, let's surge him, zod him, fight. Psy Surge, Psychic Power. Yeah, Psy Surge is the ability to use our psychic powers in order to infiltrate his mind and sow disarray. Alright, too late. We pick Psy Surge. You draw on your psychic energy and launch a pulse of Psy power at his mind. He staggers backwards, his mailed fist clenched to the sides of his black helm as your attack rakes his nervous system. But he's inured to pain. His year of training in the combat pits of Black Shroud have tempered his nerves so that he can withstand agonies that will destroy an ordinary man. He regains his balance and raises his spear to strike. Alright, so do we fight him or do we evade? So now we've learned that Death Knights are not to be trifled with. They are not ordinary soldiers. Alright, 1 vote for run, 2 for fight. Fight. Alright. Alright, let's kick ass. You leap from the shadows and aim a mighty blow at the Death Knight's head. But in spite of the speed of your attack and the encumbrance of his heavy armor, the warrior manages to turn aside your blow with the tip of his spear. Alright, Death Knight. So now it's time for battle. Okay, at that point, we don't even need to use our psychic ability in order to get anything like plus 11. Okay. Yeah, at that point we've got 29 and enemy, how much does he have? 38. So now it is time to fight. It's time to draw numbers on our good old combat table and see how we do. Okay, 0, so if we look at the combat table, yeah, 11-0, the enemy is instantly killed, so alright, there we go. That was pretty easy. So yeah, did we win the fight in 2 rounds or less? Yes. Swiftly you scramble out of the ditch and sprint back along the road toward the Allies' encampment. Zashgaz! Zashgaz! All the Drakkarim defenders as they catch sight of your shadow-like form, and a clutch of black arrows is through the air. One clips your shoulder and another gouges your leg, you lose 4 endurance points. Alright. That's right. Current 25. Okay. But you fight the pain and run on without making a sound that could direct an arrow to your heart. 50 yards from the Allies' picket line, you see 2 Lenshin man-at-arms moving toward you with their sword drawn. Give the password! They shout. Give the password or perish! Alright, is the password short sword, long sword, or broad sword? Whoops. Sorry. But yeah. Okay, people have remembered well. Wait, what? Ah, great. Hold on a second, Eh? What do you mean Google has not verified this app? I'm running this through fucking Google itself, you fucking sack of shit! Okay, alright. Okay, there we go. Alright, it's the Pathfinder, comes the reply. Quick, he's wounded! The 2 soldiers run forward. They raise their shields to protect your back from the Drakkarim arrows and help you to reach the safety of the camp perimeter, where your wounds are clean and dressed. Finally, you return to King Sarnak headquarters. He and the prince are anxious to hear your report. Despite being discovered by the enemy, you've gathered useful information about the troops defending the bridge. The king praises your bravery, and Prince Gregor orders his heralds to escort you back to his tent. After the ordeal of the scouting mission, you are grateful for the chance to get a good night's sleep. At the break of dawn, the soldiers of Lencia and Heru rouse themselves and adopt their position for the fight. You gather your equipment and join the prince at the top of the hill on which he has established his command post. He is observing the enemy line through a telescope and dictating orders to his heralds, who commit his word to parchment and dispatch them to his regiment in the field. Yep, there we go. It's the good old counts. Yep, true position at dawn. A shitload of archer, armored Drakkarim, hammerlanders, Drakkarim pike, Brigandi, Rekenarium, Brigandi, Zaganozod, Ogrons, Akataz. Wow, they got 200 dogs somehow. And 1,000 Lencian spearmen, so they better not have horses, otherwise they are screwed, I'm telling you. We outnumber the enemy 2-1, but they are well positioned to receive our attack, commends the prince, handing you his telescope so that you can scan their line. The town of Sedsa is a little more than a handful of ruined cottages clustered on a flat-top hill. To the north lies a wood and a small hill on which a ruined temple stands. To the south lies an orchard surrounded by a low wall, and further on, open grassland bisected by a ditch that runs the whole length of the battlefield. The road from Luomi crosses the ditch at a stone bridge which is barricaded and heavily defended. The enemy have been busy to the north. A mass of pointed stakes form a barrier between the two hills to impede any attempt by cavalry to break through the center, and all along this defensive line are row upon row of Drakkarim archers. An unnatural calm descends on the field as though time momentarily stands still. Suddenly the quiet is shattered by a fanfare of trumpet from King Sarnak's camp. It is the signal to advance. The foot knights of Lencia are the first to go forward, their densely packed columns marching in perfect order toward the bridge at the center of the enemy line. As they come within range, there is a sound like rushing water and a cloud of black arrows pour down on their armored ranks. Huge gaps appear in the line and the columns seem to sway under the impact before continuing the assaults. They are flanked to the south by crossbowmen who are firing their weapons as they advance. Unlike the knights, they wear very little armor and over half their numbers are felled by arrows when they halt to reload their cumbersome bows. The survivors retreat, taking cover among the mass ranks of Lencian spearmen who are advancing toward the orchard. Prince Gregor signaled to his pikemen and men-at-arms to support the Lencian knights who are engaged in a bitter hand-to-hand fight at the stone bridge. They are within 100 yards of the bridge when a crackling ray of electric fire sweeps down from the ruins of the temple. It rips through their packed rank with devastating effect, blasting the pikemen high into the air. Okay, we have divination and we reach the rank of tutelary and higher. Again, a crackling bolt of blue-white fire lances from the hilltop ruins and strike with lethal accuracy. Screams of terror rend the air as the unslain soldier fall apart in a desperate, panic-stricken flight to escape the fate that has befallen their slain comrades. Your Kai senses draw your eyes away from this carnage to focus on a figure clad in silver mail and a gold spike helmet. He's crouching on the highest point of the dilapidated temple wall, and you sense that his magical power is the source of the deadly blast. Quickly you inform the prince of what you've sensed and seen at the temple. By the gods! What manner of black sorcery is this? Gasped Prince Gregor, horrified by the cruel slaughter. But his horror is soon overcome by the sudden realization that he must act swiftly to counter this threat, or the battle might be lost. The Lencian knights are being held up at the bridge, and every minute that passes costs them dearly. He calls for his destrier, a magnificent white charger clad in ornate plate armor, and climbs into the saddle. To battle! He shouts, and ignoring the warning of his herald, he spurs his war horse down the hill. The Knight of the Palace Guard give a rousing cheer as he takes his place at the head of their column and leads them toward the ruined temple. Do we mount our horse to join the cavalry advance, or do we stay where we are in order to observe the battle? Alright. 1 vote for observe, 2 vote for riding. We ride. We ride. Fight. 4 versus 1. Alright, anybody else wants to observe, or do we just go and kick some butt? Alright, looks like we're fighting. As the Prince Guard advances majestically, their serried rank of steel slowly change formation in preparation for the Prince's order to charge. Heavy lances rise like the spine of a steel porcupine, and their starlit and yellow pennon unfurl to the wind. A wave of arrows come flying toward you, sent by the Drakkarim standing behind their fences of stakes. But the range is long, and the black shaft rattle harmlessly off Heruan armor and shield. The first rank of horsemen reach the ditch to find the herd soft and waterlogged. The Rune Temple lies 300 yards ahead, and before it a line of Drakkarim pikemen stand grimly silent on the slope of the hill. A war horn blares its signal, and suddenly all hell breaks loose. Arrows pour down on all sides, from the enemy archers to the right and from archers, previously unseen, lurking in the woods to the left. Many shafts find their way to the sides of helmet and between plates of polished armor. Still, the prince commands his men onward, and they force their horses across the ditch, braving the savage hail of death. You survive the arrows and steer your horse through the cloying mud, but you're knocked from the saddle by a riderless steed maddened by the pain of its wound. Alright, do we have animal control and hunt mastery? I don't think we have any of those. Nope, we don't. So, alright, let's pick a number and let's hope we draw better this time. Okay, alright, 3. You splash face first into the mire, which fills your eye and mouth. Blinded by the stinging mud, you fail to see your horse rear up and topple toward you, an arrow lodged deeply in his skull. His flailing hoofs slam into your back, and your leg are pinned beneath him when he falls heavily on his side. You lose 8 endurance points. If you're still alive, go to this chapter. Alright. You muster all your willpower and strength to drag yourself from under your dead horse, and after clawing the muck from your eyes, you crawl along the ditch. Just ahead, you see a palace guard in a similar predicament to yourself. However, not only is he pinned beneath his dead mount, but his head is buried in the mud and he's slowly suffocating to death. He's thrashing his arms wildly in desperation. Do we save his life by pulling him from beneath his horse? Do we ignore his plight and look for a new horse? Or do we climb out of the ditch and follow the prince's attack on foot? Alright, already 3 votes for saving. Hell yeah. We're a hero now, not a fucker. Okay, looks like we're saving him. Let's go. Once you have managed to grab hold of his arm, you heave him out from beneath his dead mount and prise open the visor of his helmet. He coughs and retches the mud from his mouth and lies back against the bank of the ditch. "I owe you my life, Pathfinder," he gasps. "Another minute and I had been done for." You turn to leave, but he grabs you by the wrist and presses a medal into your hand. "I won this at the Battle of Luomi," he says with pride. "I want you to have it with my eternal thanks." Alright, if we keep the medal, mark it on your action chart as a special item that you carry in your pocket. Oh, okay, I mean, we can throw away the invitation to Tau in order to get the medal. Another cloud of arrows fall from the sky and you dive to the bottom of the ditch to avoid being hit. When you feel it is safe to raise your head, you discover that the knight is no longer with you. He's chasing after the prince and his fellow knights as they gallop up the hill toward the Drakkarim pikemen. So, do we follow him on foot or do we look for a horse? I think we suck at horses. Alright. Okay, so far the votes say, let's go on foot. Yeah, our experiences with war horses have been less stellar. Yeah, I agree. Okay. Oops, that's right. Okay, one moment. I kinda fucked up. Okay. Prince Gregor's voice rings out across above the din of battle as he orders the palace's guard to charge the pikemen. The ground shakes beneath the pounding of the horses' hoof as they gather speed, their pennons streaming from their leveled lances. The Drakkarim huddle shoulder to shoulder and nervously dig the butts of their pikes into the hillside to steady their shaky hands. The knights reach the hill. They thunder up the slope. A blaze of lightning hurtles from the top of the temple, but it is mistimed. It crackles harmlessly over their heads and explodes behind them, hurling nothing but scorched earth into the sky. The prince screams his battle cry and the knights slam into the Drakkarim with a deafening roar. Men and metal howl in agony as the heavy horses break like a wave against a wall of pikes. You see a rider lifted out of his saddle on the point of a pike, and a ramp of black metal suddenly appears where a score of Drakkarim has been trampled into the ground. The prince and a dozen of his bravest knights break through and gallop on toward the temple, but the Drakkarim quickly close rank and seal the gap. The remaining palace guard are forced to a halt and engage the pikemen in fierce hand-to-hand combat. You reach the hill and leap over the steel-clad bodies that litter the slope. As you near the melee, you see two Drakkarim rushing toward you from the side, their axes raised to hack you down. "For Summerland!" you cry, and turn down to face their attack. Okay, again, we have a perfect, perfect combat ratio for this. They have 32 endurance, and we got 24. Yep, Omega is still dying. And hopefully these Drakkarim will also die. Okay, what's 2 good for? 10 damage to the enemy, 2 damage to us. Okay, 8. What do we get with 8? It's an instant kill. Alright. Congratulations. All's well that ends well. Also, whoops, my thing disappeared. The palace guards succeed in closing their rank and fending off the frenzied attack of the desperate Drakkarim. Their gallantry and battle skill is a steering sight as they fight their way determinedly toward the crest of the hill. Faced by such noble warriors, the Drakkarim begin to falter and fall back in disarray toward the town. As you near the top of the hill, you catch sight of Prince Gregor. He is locked in mortal combat with a silver-clad warrior inside the ruin of the temple. Strewn around them are the dead bodies of the palace guard men who, with the prince, broke through the Drakkarim pikemen during their charge upon the hill. The prince is trying to prevent the warrior from retrieving a rod of iron that lies on the ground between them. This rod crackles with a blue-white fire that shimmers along its length. Alright, we got the summer sword. Okay, it's a fight. You unsheath the sun sword and flame course along the blade, filling the ruins with its vivid golden light. The prince turns to shout a warning, but his adversary strikes him a cruel blow that lays open his thigh and hurls him to the ground. Although his helm hides his face, its nosebar and chin piece exposing little but a malicious glint in his eye, you are sure that this is no ordinary Drakkarim warrior. The smell of evil hangs heavy around him like the stench of a rotting corpse. He snarls a vile curse and flings his sword at your head. You fend off the spinning blade with ease, but the attack has served its purpose. The warrior snatches up the shimmering iron rod and it hums with a force that reveals its ancestry. It is a stave of power forged in the furnace of Hel'Jedad. With a mighty yell, he thrusts the stave at your chest, and a blast of white flame scorches your arm as you parry the attack on the hilt with the summer sword. Half blinded by the flash, you stagger back and quickly muster your strength for a desperate fight to the death. Alright, immune to Mind Blast, but not Psy Surge. So, alright, now it's time for one of the many fights where we're going to be really messed over. Like at that point, I'm just gonna make sure 28, 30, 32, 35. Alright, at that point, we're gonna use Mind Blast. Not Mind Blast, but Psy Surge. That will make us lose 2 endurance points every round, but on the flip side, our combat ratio is only gonna be minus 1. So, hopefully that will give us an edge. Hopefully. That said, yep, we're already in deep trouble. Okay, it's a 7 damage to the enemy. Whoops, okay, why do I have that? Okay, 7 damage to the enemy, 2 damage to us, plus 2 extra damage because of Mind Blast. Oh yeah, that's right, let's drink the combat potion. That will be a good idea as well. Alright. That makes our combat ratio go to 1. I mean, at that point, do I revise the hit that we did? Okay. That would have dealt 2 extra damage, so let's go with that. Okay. Hey! 11 damage to the enemy and no damage to us, although we lose 2 HP because of Psy Surge. Ah, 1. Fuck. 4 damage to the enemy, 5 damage. 4 damage to the enemy, 5 damage to us. Ugh. Okay, 5 damage to the enemy, 4 damage to us. 4 plus 2, oh god. Alright, and now unfortunately we can no longer use Mind Blast because we're too weak. Alright, 5 more damage to the enemy, but sadly, we die. Bow, 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 bow. It looks like we're dead, Jim. So, yeah, question time. Do we try to go back in time in order to, you know, try and do a different approach, or do we attempt to fight the Ziran again? Yeah, the HUDs are really bad. Yup. Alright, let's go back in time. Alright. I definitely agree with this. Okay, 29. Okay, alright. Table of content. Numbered section 150. Okay. So, alright, we're back here. What manner of black sorcery is this? Okay, so now, do we mount our horse and join the cavalry advance, or do we stay where we are and observe the battle? Oh yeah, that's right, we also don't have the medal into this alternate reality. Okay, stay this time. Let's hope the medal is not important. Okay, alright, let's see. Majestically, the palace guard advance across the field of battle, their lances raised like the spine of a steel porcupine, scarlet and yellow pennon. The enemy shower them with a rain of arrows, yet the heroines seemingly ignore these deadly shafts and continue undeterred. It is not until they reach the ditch that the constant bow fire begins to abrade their ranks. However, it does little to slow their pace as the prince gives the order to charge. The knights level their lances as they reach the bottom of the hill. Above them, a regiment of Drakkarim pikemen brace themselves to receive the attack, and a blaze of lightning hurtles down from the temple wall. You wince as it streaks down the hill, but miraculously it misses its intended target and explodes near the ditch, hurling nothing but scorched mud and the bodies of those already slain into the sky. The prince's battle cry rings out and his knights slam into the Drakkarim to break like a wave against their wall of pikes. The prince and a small group of his stoutest guardsmen break through and gallop on toward the temple, whilst the remaining knights engage in fierce hand-to-hand combat. The prince and his group reach the temple and you see them dismount and enter the ruins. Such bravery stirs your admiration, for they know the deadly danger that lurks there, yet they confront it unflinchingly. On the hill, the Drakkarim are beginning to falter. They are no match for the palace guard, the cream of the heroine army. As their casualties escalate, their line crumbles and suddenly they turn to flee in disarray toward the town. An explosion rumbles across the field and a billowing cloud of black smoke rises from the temple. Your stomach churns and you fear the worst as smoke and debris pour from the ruin like an erupting volcano. Then, as quickly as it began, the eruption subsides and the smoke clears to reveal a triumphant Prince Gregor, clutching the Aryan flag and exhorting his troop to victory. The palace guard have captured the hill and the sorcery that threatened to destroy them has been smashed. But from where you stand, you can see a new threat fast approaching the prince and his men. A threat that could kill them all. The enemy are rallying to launch a counterattack on the hill. To the south, you see a mass of leather-clad Hammerlanders supported by a regiment of grim-faced Brigandy mercenaries advancing toward the prince's position. The palace guards have fought like lions, but they've lost half their number and must be near exhaustion. They may not survive a counterattack by a much fresher force that outnumbers them 5-1. All that can save them now are the Erwin Reserve. Do we take command of the Prince's Reserve and march them toward the hill, or do we ride to Prince Sarnak's camp to ask him to save the prince? Alright, no time to lose, okay. Yep, alright, let's go. Let's be in person of action. Swiftly you inform the captains of the reserve regiment of the danger facing their prince. At first they are reluctant to take orders from a pathfinder whose ranks is inferior to their, but the logic of your argument and your forceful character persuade them to comply with your command. Trumpets announce the advance and you set off across the body-strewn battlefield with a force 900 strong. Pikemen lead the column with archers close behind, and bringing up the rear are a levy of militia, many of whom lived in Sidza before the Drakkarim invaded. Their morale is high, for this is their chance to recover their homes and their land. Tensely you watch as the enemy attack. The palace guard links shield, but as the Hammerlanders slam into their line, they buckle and waver beneath the crushing onslaught. As your force crosses the ditch, you pray that the prince and his men have strength enough to hold just for a few minutes more. The fight raging on the hill becomes a vicious struggle as the Hammerlanders hurl themselves like hungry wolves at the battle-weary guard. Doggedly you advance until you are close enough to shout the charge. Then, with a rousing cheer from the prince's men to speed them on their way, your command rush forward and the leading pikemen take the enemy in the flank. The attack is devastating. The Hammerlanders and the Brigandy are split in two and swept from the hill like autumn leaves. The pikemen halt and you order the archers forward to fire into the retreating enemy. The retreat becomes an all-out rout as the enemy flees the battlefield in chaos. "On to Setzo!" shouts Prince Gregor. The battle cry is taken up by his valiant soldiers as he leads them across the corpse-strewn field toward the town. Heavy fighting is raging along the main street. The Lancian Knights have taken the bridge and King Sarnak's spearmen have breached the wall that surrounds the apple orchard. However, the Drakkarim are determined to stand their ground and they fight back viciously like starving wolf. You run with a group of longbowmen toward the center of Setzo and find yourself approaching a barn-like building, which overlooks the bridge. Standing at a window on its upper floor is a Drakkarim sniper with an arrow notch ready to fire. Patiently, he watches you weaving through the smoky ruins until you present a clear target. He releases his training bowstring and sends an arrow whistling toward your heart. Okay, we don't have Hunt Mastery, so okay, hopefully let's pick well. Okay, six or more. Your Kai-Sen saves you from the sniper shaft. It whistles past harmlessly as you dive for cover. As you rise to your feet, you spot your would-be assassin hastily reloading his bow. Do we use our bow, or do we evade the sniper by running along an alley to the left? Alright, return fire, counter snipe, shoot back. Yeah, Weapon Master works for bow. Alright, with the legendary grace and speed of a Kai Master in battle, you draw an arrow and send it whistling toward the sniper's head. He utters a gurgling scream as he topples from the first floor window, your arrow stuck in his throat. Alright, let's remove one arrow. Whoops. So, do we run forward to search his body, or do we press on toward the center of the town? Now, you know these books, we can never actually loot later. So, alright, let's go. Okay, discover the following items: sword, dagger, bow, blanket, quiver, 3 arrows, and 16 loon, which equal 4 gold crown. Yeah, at that point, let's just take the arrows. Unfortunately, we can't even take like the loon. Unless that people want a blanket. Do we bring a blanket? I'm cold. Alright, why not? Alright, blanket. Alright, you reach a square near the center of the town where a unit of enemy reserves are gathered, awaiting the order to join the battle. Nope, her quiver can only have 6 arrows. They are Khorn, hideous-looking creature from the Mogador and Hagamazim forest. They are approached by a swarthy giant of a man with a short black beard and shiny bald head who brandishes a massive war axe fashioned from a fiery red metal. The axe must weigh more than its wielder, but he waves it above his head as if it were no heavier than a stick of wood. Judging from his features and from what you have heard during your travels through Hiru, this warrior is Baron Shinzar, the enemy commander. Alright, do we shoot more dudes? Alright, always be shooting. The Baron is shouting at the Khorn to form a line and get ready to advance. The only vulnerable part of his body that you can see as he strides back and forth before his troop is his unarmored head. Coolly, you draw an arrow to your lip and aim at the nape of his neck. So, yeah. Because we have weapon mastery, we get a +3 to this roll, and I think because we are a Mentora, we had a further +2 to this. So, alright, draw a number and add +5. Alright, 13. Okay, first let's remove the arrow. Your arrow strikes the Baron, but he's saved from a fatal wound by the lip of the steel beaver that protects his neck and back. The arrow ricochets, gouging a deep furrow across the base of his skull and making him fall heavily to his knees. Bellowing like an angry bull, he glares in your direction as he staggers painfully to his feet. Alright, Summer Sword. Meet your doom, Heruan scum! He sneers as he strides across the square, his fearsome axe raised to strike. You lift the summer sword and level it at his head. The blade shimmers gold as the sunlight catches upon its tip and charges it with power. A flicker of doubt passes across the Baron's eye, but he shrugs aside his fear and continues to advance. With a roar like a howling gale, the blade of his axe is transformed into a mass of scarlet flame that reeks of sulfurous decay. So yeah, intoxicated by the power of the weapon he wields, the Baron's immune to Mind Blast, but not Psy Surge. Oh yeah, that's right. We also, in this alternate universe, we still have the potion. But this one, however, it's different because you may evade combat after 3 rounds. So if things go bad, we have a way out of this one. So this is something that people can take if, you know, the going gets hairy. Okay, so now 35, 39, 41. Okay, combat ratio is 150, 29. Alright, so now let's go. Balhoshinzar, you're gonna pay for that other fucker that roadblocked us. Okay, or maybe not. 4 damage to the enemy, 5 damage to us, including 2 more damage from Psy Blast. Okay, 7. 10 damage to the enemy, 1 damage to us, plus 2. Oh, 8! Okay, 11 damage, no damage to us. At that point, do we keep on going? Now we have the choice to evade the battle if we want to, but maybe we just want to destroy that fucker by ourselves. So I'll let people decide, do we keep on fighting or do we duck out? Alright, keep going. Yes, that's what I like to hear. Oh, 0! 14 damage to the enemy! In the meantime, we lose 2 more HP. Alright, come on. 1 good roll and we can fucking seal it. 6. 10 damage to the enemy. And 2 damage to us plus 2. Okay, oh god. Okay, 0! He's dead! And we stay at 9 HP! Alright. Whoops. A triumphant cheer fills the air as the soldiers of Prince Gregor and King Saranac flood into the square. Setzo has been recaptured and the enemy is being smashed beyond recovery. Everywhere you look, there are joyous faces, for the death of Baron Shinzar, a seal of victory that will liberate all of Heru from the cruel yoke of Drakkarim occupation. As you watch the defeated remnants of the enemy escape across the ruin of the Setzo Wall and scurry like rats for the safety of Black Shroud, Prince Gregor joins you in celebration of the victory. "We have triumphed, Lone Wolf," he says. "Our land is now free, and the way is open for you to reach Torgar and fulfill your quest." An hour before dawn, you leave Setzo and ride across the open grassland that slopes gently toward the river Brawl. A full moon and the gathering light of day help you identify the landmarks that Prince Gregor told you to look out for to help guide you to a ford, close to the site of an abandoned copper mine. His direction proved accurate, and by mid-morning you find yourself on a ridge that overlooks the ford and its cluster of derelict mining huts. Okay, we have Catman's ship alongside the rank of Tutelary, so let's use this. A chill of premonition runs down your spine as you stare at the whole mining huts below, for you feel sure that they conceal an enemy lying in ambush. You cast your eyes along the river for an alternative place to cross, but it is only here that the deep, fast-flowing rivers of the River Brawl are shallow enough to ford on horseback. So, do we attempt to ford despite the risk of an ambush, or do we go further downstream? Alright, ford. Cock and float, I'll say, avoid the ford then. Alright, 2 versus 2. Alright, this is actually a close choice. Okay, downstream, never by ford. Nah, I'd say the poll have done his job, and people have elected, let's not ford. Having made a wide detour to avoid the ford, eventually you discover an old game trail which runs alongside the river. You follow this track for several miles until you reach a place where massive boulders, smoothed by centuries of erosion, rise out of the foaming torrent like giant stepping stones. It will be difficult, though not impossible, to cross the river at this point, but not on horseback. Reluctantly, you leave your mount and make your crossing by leaping from one boulder to the next. You're halfway across when you're faced with a leap that is wider than you've ever attempted before. Okay, pick a number. If you've reached Hunt Mastery, we don't, so okay. Oh, 0! The wind whistles past your face as you leap across the gap and land with a jolt that leaves you breathless. Desperately, you cling to the rock, but your feet cannot grip the smooth surface and you slip backwards into the river. You surface quickly, but the river here is deep and strong, and you cannot resist being swept along on the current. For over 3 miles, you ride the high sea-white water until you begin to feel smooth rock speeding past beneath your feet. By kicking out against these boulders, you're able to propel yourself toward the bank. Cold and exhausted, you claw your way out of the water and collapse on the rocky shore. Your fall on the rough river ride have taken a toll on your possession. Delete the items that you've listed 4th, 5th, and 6th on your action chart, and half of your belt pouch. Oh boy, alright. Okay, so 4, 5, and 6. Okay, we lost all of our meals. And now 19. Alright. The sun is strong in the cloudless sky, and it quickly dries your sodden clothes and warms your aching limbs. As you stand surveying your new surroundings, a stony trail leads into a forest of mist and shrouded trees, and despite the heat of the sun, you feel a sudden chill of premonition. Instinctively, you know that this is the Isle of Ghosts Prince Gregor spoke of so fearfully. With caution guiding your every step, you follow the trail, treading carefully through sawbriar that tears mercilessly at your boots and breeches, until you are forced to stop at the edge of a narrow chasm that bisects the trail. A tangle of yellowed bones lies at the bottom, and a damp, unwholesome smell rises from a number of tiny caves that riddle the sheer wall. Do we attempt to jump across the narrow chasm, or do we try to find a way around it? Okay, go around, go around, go around. Around we go. Yeah, our last jump didn't go well. It went perfectly well. The discounted result happened, and it was ghost. All right, let's look. The further you skirt around the edge of the chasm, the wider it becomes. After an hour of searching for an alternative way, you are forced to return to the trail and reconsider the jump. Do we have a rope and wish to use it? We have a rope, so do we use it? Alright, hooray for rope. Let's go, it's yours, may as well, alright. Tie one end of the rope to a strong stick and cast it across the gap. On your third attempt, it anchors in some exposed tree roots near to the edge. A few tentative pulls assure you that it is secure enough to support your weight, and you swing across. Your feet brace to withstand the jolt of impact against the chasm wall. Alright, use the random number table. 8. The collision with the far wall leaves you breathless but otherwise unarmed. Gripping firmly with both hands, you haul yourself out of the chasm, untie the stick from the end of your rope, and wind it back into your pack before setting off deeper in the eerie forest. Alright, at this point, let's add another one for the incoming thing, because we're not gonna have a fight. For several hours, you follow an ancient pavement that mostly lies buried beneath the rich black soil of the forest floor. Occasionally, you discover a heap of moss-covered slabs. They are all that remains of dwellings built long before the trees conquered the isle. It is late afternoon when you reach a clearing in the middle of which stands a decaying structure of mold-encrusted stone. The building is an immense ziggurat which is so overgrown that it appears to be a part of the surrounding soil and vegetation. A section of this verdant growth has been cleared to reveal two massive doors of solid crystal set in the lowest level. Alright, we have divination. A strong aura of evil and treachery pervades the entire area, and your senses detect that you're not alone. The building is occupied. Forewarned by your psychic skill, you avoid approaching the clearing. Under cover of the dense undergrowth, you make your way around to the rear of the building, where you witness a curious scene. A dozen horses, bridled and furnished with covering of black and gold, stand tethered to an obelisk of stone. Two leather-clad soldiers sit nearby, sharing a pipe of aromatic tobacco as they gamble at cards. They each wear an emblem of their shoulder, which is also embroidered upon the horse's saddle cloth. It is a gold portcullis on a black crest. Have we traveled the Stormlands of Central Magnamond in a previous Lone Wolf adventure? Yes, it's Book 6, The Kingdom of Terror. You recognize the emblem of Selene, the smallest of the Stormland nations. The two soldiers are dressed in the uniform of mercenary swordmen from the town of Amory, which is situated close to its northern border. Fear and suspicion grow stronger as you try to fathom a reason why these soldiers of fortune are here on this remote island, 1,000 miles from their homeland. One of the men struggles to his feet and begins walking toward you. You sense that he has not seen you, he is merely answering the call of nature, but you decide that it is wise to slip away. Under cover of the forest, you return to the front of the building. Curiosity overcomes your natural caution and you decide to investigate the fascinating structure. You discover that the undergrowth has only recently been chopped away to give access to the door where gaping, fire-blackened holes are all that remains of the crystal locks that held them secure for centuries. Beyond the damaged door, a dry, dark tunnel slopes gently downward. It twists as it descends to a chamber which is huge and empty, and ringed by a score of openings. A green glow in the faint trumming of discordant chanting draws you to one of these many portals. Beyond it, a staircase delves deeper into the earth. As you make your way carefully downward, the air becomes increasingly humid and chill. The stairs are slick with moisture and crawling with spiders and other many-legged creature that's cuddled away from your feet. You count 60 steps before the staircase ends at a huge door stained black with damp and age. It is slightly ajar, and as you peer through the crack, you are chilled to the core by what lies beyond. Behind the black door lies a vast temple lit by a ghastly green glow, which radiates from columns of crystal that rise from the floor and ascend in the dark reaches above. Near the center of the room sits a giant block of sculptured marble, and around it stand a group of hooded men, their faces hidden behind hideous masks of glass. The dismal sound of their chanting fills the chamber, and as their leader steps forward and removes his mask, so their voices rise in pitch and fervor. Have we traveled in the Stormland of Central Magnamond? Yes, again, it's book number 6. You recognize the pale, badly scarred features of Rourke, Lord of the Selenese town of Armory. Bam, bam, bam. He has aged much since your last meeting. His jet black hair is now streaked with gray, and he walks with a stoop, as if burdened by a heavy pack. But his eyes are still as cold and as cruel as they were when he attempted to kill you 4 years ago. No, we didn't kill him. He tried to kill us, but failed. "Hear me, O Lord of Pain!" cries the leader. "Your humble servant Rourke invokes you to aid him in this hour of dread uncertainty. Come forth and conquer. Come forth and feast upon the souls of our enemies." As the grim words uttered by the gray-haired figures echo through the temple, your Kai senses detect a stream of invisible force rising from the marble block. Gradually, the force takes the form of a mist filled with ghastly apparition. An icy chill engulfs the temple as the mist swirls like a cyclone around the wall. "Come! Come, Tagazine!" screams Rourke, his voice barely audible above the howling wind. "From the pit of eternal pain I summon thee!" Alright, do we have the discipline of Magna Chi of divination and reach the rank of Mentora? Yes. A tingling sensation electrifies your senses and fills your mind with images of events which took place in this temple thousands of years ago. So strong are the psychic residues that linger here are the images appearing breathtakingly wild. During the age of the Whole Kingdoms, When the Elder Magi ruled the land, this temple was a place of learning and experimentation. It was here they developed their knowledge and understanding of nature, and many beneficial discoveries were made to the betterment of Magnamon. The guardians of this laboratory were a Drakkarim race called the Patar. They served the Elder Magi, and in return, they were entrusted with their newfound secrets of herbcraft and druidic lore. But the Patar betrayed that trust when they allowed the Cineres, a clan of evil druids, into the temple to plunder its secret. The Cineres call upon their demon lord, who appeared in this very chamber. He took hold at the Elder Magi and nurtured and cultivated, and he turned it against them in the form of a deadly plague that decimated their race. In the wake of their destruction, the Cineres and Patar rose to power, but their reign was short-lived. A clan of goodly druids called the Herbalish, who had helped the surviving Elder Magi to escape their enemies during the years of the Great Plague, waged war on the Cineres and were victorious. The Patar fled the temple in shame and gave a solemn pledge to the Herbalish that they will redeem their act of treachery by devoting themselves to the study of the healing heart and by striving to defeat disease in all its form. Ever since, the descendants of the Patar have been known as the Redeemers, and each new generation have upheld that ancient vow. But the story has yet to find an ending, for in this forgotten temple you're now witnessing a terrifying repeat of history. Roark and his follower are Cineres druids, and they have come here once more to invoke the help of their master, the Demon Lord Tagasin. The swirling mist drawing toward the marble block. They grow darker as they merge into a solid shape that resembles a huge, saber-toothed jackal with smooth cream-colored skin. High sheen on his muscular body and wisps of black smoke curl from his snuffling snout. Thank you, rejects, for the raid. Howoo. He responds by lowering his glowing eyes and regarding them with disdain.
Why do you summon me here?
He says, his voice deep and rasping. But before Roark can offer a reply, the Demon Lord swivels his head in your direction and offers a fearful snarl. There we go. Demon Lord Tagasin. He's a dog. Aroo. Alright, we have size screen. We do. A wave of pain begins to envelop your mind, but your psychic defenses deflect the attack before it overwhelms your senses. Lose one endurance point. The attack ceases, but your fear grows as you watch the jackal-like Demon Lord leap from the marble block and come bounding toward the door. Alright, do we use the bow in do we use the bow? I mean, I don't know if we should attack the Demon Lord of Pain. Well, it's your fault for coming to the Island of Ghosts. Alright, at that point, let's use the bow. I mean, we might as well just, get our last hit point back. With terrifying ease, the Demon Lord throws open the stone door, which splits asunder as it slams against the temple wall. You release your arrow and send it burrowing deep into the creature's chest. The Demon Lord laughs mockingly and plucks the shaft from its body if it were no more of an irritation than a tiny splinter. No blood oozes from the wound, and the puncture seals itself quickly to leave no mark on the creamy skin of the supernatural creature.
Surrender yourself, mortal,
he commands,
and I shall spare you the agonies of death.
Alright, let's use the Summer Sword. So yeah, you draw your golden sword and its cleansing light washes over the Demon Lord's unwholesome form. He growls uneasily as if sickened by the close proximity of such a noble blade, and slowly he withdraws into the temple. Rourke and his followers huddle in the corner and watch with fearful eyes as their master prepare to attack. So yeah, 45 combat skill, 65 endurance. This is even worse than the other encounter. It's like so far we hit every little encounter where the summer sword fucks you over. It's like it's kind of amazing. So, okay, with Mind Blast we can get 39 combat skill, which leaves us to -6. It's like, we are so fucked. But yeah, this is why I held a vote. It's like, there was a reason why I did this. Alright, anyway, let's go. Let's do it some more. Oh, at the very least, we get a Hail Mary roll in order to begin things. So, alright, -6. Tagazin takes 9 damage. And we lose 2 damage because of Mind Blast. Yeah, I don't regret voting to keep the sword. Yeah, you wanted us to suffer! 7 damage to the enemy. Whoops, that's not 7. And 2 damage to us, +2. Oh my god! What the fuck is happening? But hey, we're still not out of harm's way. It's like, oh boy. What is happening? Are we somehow gonna pull it off? It's like right now we're the fucking Habs. Okay, never mind. Alright, 3. 2 damage to the enemy. 29. And 5 damage to us. +2 equals 7. Oh god, again. 2 damage. 7 damage. Normally we wouldn't be allowed to use Psy Surge anymore, but fuck it. I'm breaking the rules. Okay, 8. What is 8? 7 damage. 2. Oh, wow! We fucking pulled it off! But yeah, we reduce him to 20 HP, so alright, cease combat and go to 20. So now, alright, 2. Tagazin shudders as the blows of the Summer Sword rob him of his supernatural strength. His body becomes pale, almost transparent, and tiny tendrils of smoke curl from his skin as if his body were slowly evaporating. He retreats toward the center of the temple and leaps on the marble block. There is a chilling howl and suddenly the shadowy chamber is flooded with a blinding light. Thunder booms and the walls shake. Terrified, Rourke and his companion flee through the shattered door and scramble up the stairs. Crackling bolts of white lightning leap from the marble block to tear great chunks of rocks from the wall, and the air seethes with a cloying stench that threatens to suffocate you. With terror in your heart, you bound up the stairs and escape as the defeated spirit of the demon lord vents its spite on the chamber below. Dust clog your throat and the roar of falling stone is deafening as you race toward the surface. When you reach the ramp that leads to the crystal door, you find it split wide open. A web of cracks zigzag across the two halves and a growing mound of rubble threaten to seal off the exit. Desperately, you claw your way across the jagged debris, passing the bodies of some of Rourke's followers. Now, we still have an healing potion. Thankfully, it did survive our river incident. Alright, desperately you... oh no, that's right, I already did. And diving through the shrinking exit just before the ceiling collapses with a tremendous crash. Outside, the situation was remarkably calm. Only a slight ground tremor and a sound like distant thunder hint at the incredible destruction taking place inside the temple. The clearing is deserted and you're beginning to think you're the only one to have escaped, when you hear horses galloping away and glimpse 3 riders disappearing along a track that heads up to the east. It is nearly dark and they're soon swallowed by the shadow of the forest. Alright, do we follow them or do we ignore them and spend the night in the clearing? Alright, get out of him. Get out of here. That means follow him. Yep, this play. Yeah, we're almost dead, but at that point, judging at the reputation of the place and what we've been through, this might not be a wise idea to stay here. Yep, alright, let's go. The track consists of ancient paving block, mostly overgrown with moss, but occasionally you hear the sound of a distant hoofbeat striking upon an exposed slab of stone. You follow the trail and are soon engulfed by darkness. Only the sound of forest howls and the flutter of bats can be heard as you make your way slowly through the inky black forest. You've been walking less than an hour when you arrive at a stone bridge. The stream it once crossed has long since dried up, and the empty watercourse is blanketed with dead leaves. You're now very tired and in need of food and rest. So, do we decide to stop and rest at the bridge, or do we forego rest and continue along the track? Yeah, the bridge is less haunted. Alright, so far 3 votes for resting. Is there anyone who's daring and decide that, hey, whatever, we must fuck off out of here as fast as possible? Alright, looks like we're resting. Alright, cautiously you investigate beneath the bridge, and to your relief discover that it is deserted. You're hungry and exhausted after your ordeal, and you must now eat a meal or lose 3 endurance points. Alright. We're back to suffering again. Too tired to continue, you settle down on the soft mattress of leaves and drift off into a deep sleep. The cold blue light of early morning and the sound of a crow cawing in the distance steer you from your deep sleep. Yeah, we lost all of our food in the river. Rays of golden sunlight stream through the forest canopy, illuminating the dark gray-green foliage and making your continued trek through the pines a far easier task than your last night. You make excellent progress, and at mid-afternoon you emerge from the wood that fringe the eastern border to find yourself staring at the river brawl and the rolling green sea of trees that is the Mogador Forest. The rushing waters of the Brawl are too deep to traverse at this point, so you follow the rock-strewn bank northwards until you catch sight of an ideal place to cross. The remains of an ancient bridge, which collapsed centuries ago, form a shoal of broken stones that ford the river. The water bubbles and foams as it washes over the shallow causeway. Eagerly you approach the fort, but you stop dead in your track when you hear gruff, inhuman voices coming from a clump of bushes near the river's edge. Alright, we have petmanship. You recognize the language being spoken by the owners of the harsh voices. It is Khorne. A shiver runs down your spine when you recall what you have heard about the evil creatures who speak this tongue, how they delight in cruelty and love nothing better than to devour human flesh. It will be wise to avoid them, but in order to reach the ford, you have to pass close by the bushes. From what little you can hear of their conversation, they're arguing over some fish they've caught. As you creep nearer, you pray that their argument will keep them distracted long enough for you to reach the river unseen. Alright, pick a number. If you have the lore circle of Solaris, we don't. So, alright. Hopefully we don't get seen, because right now we're kind of fragile. Nope, we get seen. You have taken less than a dozen silent steps, and then you get an endurance point back. When the voices stop, there's a rustle of foliage, and then a group of hideous-looking creatures emerge from the bush. They are not as tall as you, but almost twice as broad, with arms that hang below their knees. They slobber repulsively as they draw their primitive weapons and shuffle closer. Alright, we use our bow. Alright, arrow to the face, shoot it. Shoot. I mean, anything that will not get us into a fight will definitely be welcome. Alright, any other feedback? So far, everyone wants to shoot. Do you want to be different? Do you dare? Oh, it's the demo scene music, which is playing in the background right now. Alright, time for the bow. Alright, you draw an arrow and let it fly at the leading creature. It pierces its hairless skull and sends it reeling into the bushes. The other gurgle their displeasure and fix you with their murderous black eyes as they make ready to rush forward and attack. Okay, before this fight, let's go and drink our Loam's per potion that... Oh, never mind, we had a meal. Okay. Alright, that point, we have more HP. I was wrong. So, alright, now that we've got all that... Okay, 33 against 12, but our combat ratio is also maxed out, so... I can't say I'm super worried about this encounter. It's like, the Summer Sword, it either makes fights really easy or really impossible. No in between. Okay, they take 14 damage. And we take... 14 damage and we take 1 damage. Ah, 1. 9 damage to the enemy, 3 damage to us. Six. Alright, the enemy is dead, we take 1 more damage. Whoop. Alright, come back. Alright, you surge a... whoops, that's right. Before we... 8. You search the body of the dead Khorne, but find little of value. Their weapons are crude and poorly fashioned, and their packs contain nothing but strips of dried meat. You consider the long journey ahead, but stories you've heard about the Khorne love of human flesh are enough to put you off the idea of taking the food. Do we hide the bodies before we cross the river, or do we choose to leave them where they lie? Alright, if it suggests to hide them, we probably should. Alright. The smell of their blood makes your stomach heave, but your grim labor does not go unrewarded. Inside the bushes, you discover their catch of fish. There are enough speckled trout here for 5 meal. If you take any of the fish, remember to record them. Alright. We're back, baby. Okay, meal. Whoops. That's not how you spell meal. Meal. Oops. And now I'm hitting every button. Woohoo! I did the mail. Yep, we're no longer gonna starve. We're a man full of fish. Alright. Swiftly, you cross the rocky causeway, taking care to tread on only those stones that rise above the foaming white current, and you enter the Mogador forest as quickly as the dense trees will allow. The ground rises steeply and it is dusk before your climb ends at the crest of a ridge overlooking the Isle of Ghost. In less than an hour it will be dark, so you decide to camp on here on the ridge and continue at first light. Alright, eat a meal or lose 3 endurance points. You are preparing to settle down on a bed of leaf mold when the howl of a timber wolf prompts you to abandon your soft mattress and spend the night in the bow of a tree. Your journey northward through the Mogador forest is a long and tiring trek that is fraught with danger. Roving bands of Krorn and pack of savage timber wolves demand that you remain vigilant at all time. And as you venture deeper into their vast domain, you feel your sense of time gradually slipping away. Your only consolation on this long and lonely trek is that wild game is plentiful and you experience no shortage of food. On the morning of your 9th day in the forest, you notice that the grey pines are beginning to thin out and the ground is becoming dusty and sparsely vegetated. Soon, you come upon a road constructed of broken stones which leave the forest and disappear into a barren landscape of yellow sulfurous soil. You check your map and it confirms your suspicion. You've reached the foothill of the Nedulridsaga mountain and are now less than 20 miles from the fortress of Torgar. How long does it take to Sap Omega? About 2 hours and a half. So, alright, where are we now? Wait, okay, I think it's around here. I think we're over here right now. It's like we've done quite the trick, but we're almost there. After a week of trekking across difficult terrain, the firm surface of the hill track feels as smooth as a mirror beneath your aching feet. By noon, you have put 10 miles behind you and have reached a bridge which crosses a sickly yellow stream flowing down the surrounding hill. Alright, eat a meal or lose 3 endurance points. Alright, good thing we stuff ourselves full of trout. Also I forgot to add the endurance point back. You are about to continue your journey across the bridge when you hear a rumble of hoofbeat and see a group of horsemen, shrouded in dust, riding along the road toward you. Okay, do we have on to mastery? No, we don't. Okay, so do we wait for the riders to reach us, or do we hide beneath the bridge? Okay, hide, wait. Alright, 3 for hide, 1 for wait. Okay, any other input? Okay, we ate. Swiftly you dive beneath the bridge and wait with bated breath as the horsemen approach. They thunder across the bridge, and when you can no longer hear their hoofbeats pounding the rocky road, you climb out of your hiding place and continue northward. The road winds upward through the arid hills until it reaches a ridge of yellow rock. You climb to the crest of the ridge and catch your first awe-inspiring glimpse of Torgar. The wall of this grim city fortress stands upon the brink of a ravine cut deep by centuries of rushing water. A natural causeway of stone spans the dark chasm and provides the only means of approaching Torgar from the south. It has an enviable position and its defenses seem impregnable. It commands the only road into the barren land of Gatan, and any who dare travel that road must pass over the causeway and through the city's great iron gate. In the past, there have been few who will venture willingly to Torgar, but now the causeway and its approaches swarm with such men. They are the soldiers of Telestria and Palmyrion, and they have come with their engines of war to lay siege to this grim Drakkarim fortress. Less than a mile from the ridge stand a cluster of tents, perched on top of a hillock which overlooks the siege works. As you approach them, a group of knights appear from the largest tents and command you to halt. One of them, an officer, recognizes the uniform you wear and bids you enter the tent to meet his commander. All of the knights are armed and you decided prudent not to refuse the officer's request. Alright, have we ever visited the land of Telestria in a previous adventure? Yes, it's Book 8. The good old jungle adventure. Inside the tent, a group of senior officers are poring over their battle maps and planning their troop disposition for an assault across the causeway. Their leader has his back to you, but when he turns to see who has entered his tent, you recognize him at once. He is Adamus, Lord Constable of Garten. Thank you, Pad Thai Assassin, for the sub. Thank you very much. Yep. Hell yeah, Lone Walk. I mean, I like him a lot too, don't get me wrong. Alright. By the gods, he exclaimed. I thought the Danar had claimed you, Lone Wolf. How good it is to see you alive. He dismisses his captain and bids you tell all that has happened since last you met. So, you wish to break into Torgar, he says thoughtfully. How strange it is that our goals should be so similar. Come, follow me. Perhaps cooperation will hasten our success. A short distance from Lord Adamus' tent stands a wooden watchtower, constructed by his army engineers, which offers an unobstructed view of the causeway and the Great Gate of Torgar. As you reach the top of its rickety ladder and step on the platform beside the Lord Constable, he recounts the events that have led to the siege of this city fortress. Following his victory over the Ogians and the destruction of Xanar, Adamus led the allied armies of Bor, Telestria, and Palmyrion along the Black Shroud Trail in pursuit of the shattered enemy. When they reached the Agnakor Kuzim, the Road of Slaves, the army of Bor was detached and sent to assail Black Shroud from the east, while the bulk of the allied forces marched north toward Torgar. When Telestria was overrun in the early days of the war, thousands of her people were taken as slaves and imprisoned here in this fortress. Lord Adamus had sworn that one day he will free them, and he was determined to fulfill his pledge. During the march north, a great battle was fought near the wasteland of Zutezna against two Gyak armies led by Dark Lord Kragenskul and Dark Lord Shlanzor. Both were soundly defeated by the allies and sent back to Cragmantle to lick their wounds. Although victorious at Zutezna, the allies had suffered heavy losses and Adamus feared they would be too weak to storm Torgar. He was too far from his homeland for reinforcements to reach him swiftly, and there was the growing threat that the Dark Lords will muster their troops in Tanos and Mosgoar and attack again. Faced with this grave dilemma, he decided to risk an assault on Torgar. We have means to breach the Iron Gate, he says, staring purposefully at the great door of Torgar. The Elder Magi has given us a device that will reduce it to twisted scrap, and when we march through that portal and free our people, we shall have all the reinforcements we need. The hoarse cries of soldier and the blare of war trumpet announce preparation for an assault across the causeway. Armored infantry gather in a spearhead formation and wait. Oh. Alright. So, okay, take a screenshot. Alright, there we go. Victory! This book is actually pretty long. We killed Omega before we finished the book. Okay, now... Okay. You accompany Lord Adamus as he makes his way through the mass rank of infantry and enters a trench which zigzags toward the causeway. He stops at a log-line hollow dug out of the trench wall and speaks with a captain who is lying there nursing a broken arm. The wounded officer hands him his leather satchel, and Adamus continues along the trench until he reaches the center of the causeway. There, you both take cover with the vanguard and peer through a slit in the log wall at the formidable entrance to Torgar. It's an impressive-looking door, says Adamus. Also, before whoops. Probably should at the very least keep this in here, even though it probably doesn't belong anymore, but fuck it. It's part of Fiesta. Alright, it's an impressive-looking door, says Adamus, studying the wall of black iron, pitted and streaked with age. But every door has its key, and we have the key to this one. He flips open the leather satchel and removes what appears to be a mass of triangular crystals fused into one solid lump. This is a device that the Elder Magi prepared for us. It has to be placed at the foot of the door, and it is activated by pressing this shard, he says, pointing to a sliver of crystal protruding from the side. The thing explodes 10 seconds after the shard is pressed. Calmly, he takes a coin from his pocket and flicks it in the air. One of us must place a device, he says as he catches the coin. We're the only two left who stand a chance of surviving the run. He nods at his clenched fist and invites you to call heads or tail. Alright, do we use divination? Or do we just play it straight and call heads or tail? And yeah, we're not even in the dungeon yet. Yep, it took that long to get there. Okay, divination. You focus your Kai skill on Adamus' hand, but you cannot tell which side of the coin is showing. All you can detect is a strong magical aura, indicating that the coin is magically shielded. You have no option but to guess which side is showing. So is it head or tail? I mean, we can't always cheat. It's like, there's an extent as to what we can do with our powers. Okay, 2 votes for tails, 3 for heads. Tails. Okay, at that point, let's go with AIDS. Heads! Fuck me! Alright, when he opens his fist, you see that the coin shows tail. Fate has chosen you for this heroic act, Kai Lord, he says, and hands you the leather satchel containing the crystal explosive. My men will cover you with their crossbows when you make your run. Place a device so that the shard faces the door, and remember, you only have 10 seconds to get back once it is activated. Alright, you shoulder the satchel, and as Adamus gives the order to his men to fire, you scramble over the rampart and sprint toward the great iron door. Okay, pick a number. If you have Hunt Mastery, add 2. If you have completed Lore Circle of Solaris, add 2. We don't do any of those things. So let's roll wisely. 8. Alright, 8 or more. The yell of the Drakkarim echo along the battlement as they watch you sprinting toward the city. Then a rain of boulders slam down with terrific force, spraying you with splinters of stone as they disintegrate on impact. Your senses keep you safe, as instinctively you dodge the falling rocks and then skid to a halt in front of the door. You plant and prime the crystal explosive and run back, counting the seconds with every step. You clear the rampart on the count of 7 and flatten yourself behind its protective wall. The crystal explodes with a blinding flash, releasing a bolt of sun-like energy that tears a massive hole in the 1-foot-thick iron plate and transforms what little remains into red-hot slag. The shuddering concussion jars the entire causeway and fragments of glowing metal fall all around you. Triumphant cheers rise above the thunderous boom that is rumbling through the ravine as the spear point of Adamus' army surges across the causeway toward the ruin gate. There we go. Success is brought to you by a triangle. You take your place beside Lord Adamus and charge through the smoldering gap, leaping over the charred and broken remain of the Drakkarim who were caught in the blast. The allied soldiers follow your lead and sweep into the startled city, through a gate now guarded only by the slain. Despite their shock, the defenders begin to rally as they receive fresh reinforcements from other parts of the city, and soon a vicious battle rages in the cramped, gloomy street. You lead a group of Palmyrian men's at arms across a courtyard and into a dingy street where you find yourself confronted by a regiment of Drakkarim garrison troops. They have gathered to make a wall of shield behind a pair of small figures, black robe and cowled, each holding a yellow globe. Alright, we have divination with the rank of tutelary. Your Magna Chi skill warns you that the robe figures possess magical abilities. The glass globe they are holding contain a volatile mixture of phosphorus and oil. If the globes were to break, the content will burst into flame immediately on contact with the air. Alright, do you want to fire an arrow at one of the globes? But yeah, healing is like a mandatory power. Forget going through these books like, you know, without this power. The two diminutive magicians see you level your bows and realize they are in danger. As you take aim to get ready to hurl their spheres at the Palmyrian. Alright, pick a number from the random number table and add any bonus to the missile, which is +5. 0 + 5, nah, we miss. Your arrow grazes one of the magicians and thuds into the shield of a Drakkarim warrior standing behind him. The wound is superficial and it does not prevent the magician from hurling his sphere at the Palmyrians. You are dazzled by a brilliant flash as the two globes explode, scattering fragments that hiss like a host of fiery snakes into the Palmyrian ranks. The men-at-arms scream with pain and terror as the fragments burn everything they touch. You escape the worst of the blast, but the sleeve of your tunic is splashed with fragments and are now on fire. Alright, we have Nexus and we have the rank of Principalin and higher, so yep, we are safe here. By the way, for people who are not in the know, Nexus plus the rank of Principalin gives us the power to extinguish fires. Yeah. Using your mastery of Nexus, you extinguish the flames that are scorching your arms and immediately set about helping those Palmyrians who have survived the devastating attack. Less than half are able to stand, but you manage to pull them in a defensive circle in time to fight the Drakkarim wharf charging along the street. Alright, 26-39. We have a combat skill of 35 and 37 if we use a Mind Blast. So, okay, plus 11. Whoops. Alright. Wrong thing. Okay, 5. 14 damage to the enemy and 1 damage to us. 7, 18 damage to the enemy and no damage to us. Okay, and the enemy's insta-kill. Good night. Alright, there we go, we win. Ah, yeah, that's fine. Also, I forgot to remove an arrow. The surviving Drakkarim scatter into the surrounding alleys, and you're able to advance toward the center of Torgar unopposed. The Palmyrians meet up with their regiment, and you continue alone along the dingy thoroughfare. It leads to an open square where a conical tower of iron points accusingly at the sky. Here, the flagstones vibrate to a continuous throbbing that beats like a gigantic pulse somewhere deep in the bowels of the city. The battle have drawn most of the Drakkarim away from this square, and you have no difficulty in reaching the tower and entering it via an open archway. A corridor of steel lies beyond, empty save from the constant din that assails you here. Countless passages lead off from the main corridor, all sloping downward, and many occupied by Drakkarim warriors. The passages are poorly lit, and it is easy to avoid your enemies, until you reach a vast stairway bathed in a bright orange glow that radiates from a level below. Alright, pick a number. If you have lore circle, oh, fuck you. Alright. Not having the Circle of Solaris definitely fucked us up in this book. Okay, 3. When you're halfway down the staircase, a shadow looms into view. Seconds later, a Drakkarim officer appears and begins to ascend. He is the most repugnant human being you've ever seen. His enormous bloated body bulges with overdeveloped muscle to the point of deformity, and his face is puffy and fat, shiny with sweat and pitted with disease. A battle wound on his right cheek has scarred badly, drawing that side of his face into an ugly sneer. He sees you and unsheath a massive saw-edged scimitar as he strides up the stairs and attack. Okay, at that point, yeah, do we use Sci Search for this, or do we just play it safe and just use basic as yeah, let's just use basic as Mind Blast. So that way we're still gonna have, like, at the very least, a combat ratio of 6. And this way, we're not gonna lose endurance point with each round, so... Thank you, Carmen94! Thank you very much for the sub! Alright, round 1. Fight!
Yeah!
Oh boy, 2. Okay, so 2. 7 damage to the enemy. And 3 damage to us. Whoops. That was way more than we bargained for. 0! 18 damage! No damage to us. 9, 16 damage. The enemy has been defeated. With very minimal losses. His body rolls down the stairs and comes to rest in an undignified heap near the bottom. You are loath to touch him, but he may possess some useful items. Gritting your teeth, you pull him over onto his back, empty his pockets, and discover the following item. Alright, a black key? I mean, let's take this one right away. You know it's probably gonna come into use. As well then, 200 kikas, which is worth 20 crowns. Yeah, we can actually bring them all, so alright. Oops. Yeah, don't mind me. I am bumbling fucking my way through my Excel spreadsheet. Alright, there we go. And finally a dagger. At that point, I don't think we're gonna take it unless that people really want to replace the Warhammer with this, but I don't know. I feel that Warhammer is nostalgic. Yeah, let's keep the Warhammer. Beyond the staircase lies a circular parapet which overlooks a huge cavernous crater. It is filled with thousands of human slaves toiling with pick and shovel deep in the sulphurous heart of Torgar. Their bodies are filthy and covered with sweat despite a freezing wind which howls in the depth like a hungry wolf. Drakkarim overseers urge them to greater effort, and the crack of their whips is answered by the slaves' anguished cry of pain. Angered by what you've seen, you leave the parapet and enter a dimly lit passage that descends to a door of black steel. A twist of the handle reveals that it is locked. Do we have a black key? Yes. The lock clicks and the door opens on a halfway line with torches that sputter and crackle noisily. Halfway along there is another door, a solid slab of iron broken only by a small barred window. Silently you approach this door and peer in through the grill. Alright, I'm adding another point just ahead of the next paragraph. Alright, have we visited the Danorg in a previous Lone Wolf adventure? Yes, it's book 8. Beyond the door, you see a dank dungeon cell. A prisoner sits cross-legged on the cold stone floor, his head resting on his chest. The dark skin on his hands and arm is covered in tiny scars, and his plaited hair is matted with grime and dried blood. Wearily, he raises his head, and your pulse races as you recognize the face of Lord Paido, warrior magician of Disi. A key to the cell door hangs on a hook nearby. You grab it, twist it in the lock, and kick the heavy slab of metal. It creaks open, and Paido rushes forward to embrace you. "Thank the gods you have found me, Lone Wolf," he says, his voice filled with emotion. "The Drakkarim said you were dead, that your body lay rotting in the Danorg, but I never once believed their lies." Paido was overjoyed to hear that the Torgar gate has fallen and that a battle is raging in the streets above. And when you inform him of your mission, he replies with news that raises your hope of success. "I can help you, Lone Wolf," he says, his warrior pride restored by the thought of avenging his cruel imprisonment. "I know where the Lorestones are being held, and I will take you there." Stealthily, you follow Paido through the dungeons of Torgar, using the shadows to avoid being seen. Rag column of slaves stumble along the passages, dragging their tortured, half-starved bodies to and from the work pits. They are beaten, cursed, and whipped relentlessly by their Drakkarim guards, who seem to delight in their suffering. There we go, delight is happening. Oh no, it's Link over there. What have they done to him? We emerge from a corridor into the shadows of a circular chamber where a staircase ascends to a pair of huge triangular iron doors guarded by a squad of cracked Drakkarim death knights. A tingling sensation electrifies your skin as your senses detect the presence of the Lorestone somewhere behind these doors. Suddenly, an alarm bell fills the chamber with a deafening clangor. The death knights begin to descend the stairs, and your stomach churns with the fear that you've been detected. But what does divination says to us? The alarm bell signifies that the entrance to the tower is under attack. Adamus and his army have reached the center of the city and are now fighting their way down into the dungeons in an attempt to free the slave. The Death Knights are hurrying to their battle station and they're unaware of your presence in this chamber. The Death Knight tramp past your hiding place and hurry out of the chamber. Paido breathes a sigh of relief as the sound of their heavy footfalls is quickly lost in the noise of the alarm bell. But only when you are sure you're alone do you leave your hiding place and approach the triangular doors. You pull a metal bar set into the wall and the huge lead-lined doors rumble open to reveal an incredible sight. Before you stands a dome chamber, its ceiling crisscrossed with gantries of rusted iron. At the center is a circular black pit around which are gathered groups of ghoulish creatures clad in transparent robes and masks. Angled upwards from the floor are slender crystal rods that glow with green fire. They pour forth a constant stream of pencil-thin light which focuses at a point directly above the center of the pit. Your eyes are drawn to this point, for here you can see the 3 remaining Lorestones of Nyxator, the objects of your quest, held suspended in a ball of flickering green flame. Yeah, alongside all of these merry people, and a bunch of skulls, I guess. The harsh clang of the alarm bell and the sudden sight of you silhouetted in the doorway has startled the creatures. They slink away from the pit and escape through an archway, leaving you and Paido alone in the chamber. Cautiously, you approach the edge of the pit and look down into its midnight depths. No light penetrates the blackness and no sounds can be heard in this seemingly bottomless abyss. Above you, the Lorestones hang suspended in a ball of green flames, beyond reach from the ground, but within a hand's breadth of the gantries which crisscross above the pit. Alright, do we climb a gantry and try to retrieve the Lorestones from above? Do we examine the crystal rods? Or do we wish to search for a way of retrieving the Lorestones from below? Okay, alright, let's study. Oh, okay, study or rods? I mean, it's 3 versus 1, so alright. Let's find... Oh, okay, alright. I stand corrected. Oh, rods! Alright, let's go. You sense that the crystal rods are generating a powerful charge that will send your senses revving through the door. They're generating a powerful charge of negative energy. The Lorestones are being bombarded with this energy in the hope that eventually it will destroy them. If you are to retrieve the Lorestones safely, you must first shut off this power. However, by doing so, you will remove the means by which they are being kept suspended in the air, and they will then fall in the pit. You ponder the problem for several minutes before you hit upon a solution. You notice that there's a spot where a gantry passes directly over the ball of green flame. If you could crawl to that spot, you will be able to cup your hands below the Lorestone. Paido could then destroy the crystal rods, and the Lorestone, freed of the energy beams, will drop into your hand. It is a bold plan, but you feel confident that it will succeed. The corroded high-end gantry shakes violently as you inch your way nearer to the flaming green ball. Once you are in position, you call to Paido and, one by one, he smashes the crystal rods. As each rod is broken, its beam disappears and the fireball grows weaker. The golden light of the Lorestones begins to... The golden light of the Lorestone begins... Okay, whatever. begins to radiate through the evil green flames, and when Paido has destroyed half the rods, one of them tips and falls into your waiting hands. Immediately, a wave of energy courses through your body, filling you with renewed strength and sharpening your thoughts and perception. You shout encouragement to your companion and he raises his head to reply, but his words are drowned by a harsh and terrible voice.
Vengeance is mine, Lone Wolf!
Booms the thunderous voice. Terror strikes deep in your heart when you turn and see the ghastly form of Dark Lord Nag, filling the archway through which his minions escape when first you enter this chamber. A ghastly rasping laugh echoes from his fly-like head as he raises a black crystal and points it at the gantry.
The vow I gave at Tamu shall be fulfilled. Now I shall destroy you and the Lorestones.
There's a deafening crack, and a bolt of blue lightning streaks from the stone held in his pincer-like claw. It shears through the rusty metal, and you're peppered with red-hot iron splinters. As the shockwave hits the weakened ball of fire, the two Lorestones are sent tumbling into the black abyss. Then a second bolt from the Darkstone tears the gantry in two, and with the ghastly laugh of Dark Lord Nag ringing in your ears, you plummet headlong into the icy cold pit. You have fallen into a portal of total darkness, a shadow gate that leads to the twilight world of Daciarn. The wisdom and strength of the Lorestone of Luomi is now a part of your body and spirit, and the last remaining Lorestones are still within your reach, but your descent in the Daciarn heralds the beginning of a deadly supernatural episode of the Magna Kai quest. If you have the courage of a true Kai Master, the wonders and the horrors of the Twilight Plane await you in Book 11, the penultimate Magna Kai adventure entitled The Prisoners of Time. So, alright, before we put an end to this, we need to pick a discipline for next book. So, we might as well take a gander as, the new disciplines that we've obtained at the, the improved disciplines. Alright, that's what we were looking at. So yeah, now we've reached the rank of Sion Kai. So now what that does, when entering combat with a weapon you've mastered, we had 4 combat skill points instead of 3, and if we fight without a weapon, we only lose 1 combat skill point. Okay, so already we can add 1 point to our combat skill here. Invisibility. Sion Kai are able to alter their physical appearance at will in order to deceive an enemy. The duration and effectiveness of this deception increases as a Kai Master rises in rank. Batmanship. We have the ability to converse with any sentient creature. We're also able to make ourselves invisible when subjected to any psychic or magical spells of detection. Psy Screen. We're able to absorb and control energies directed at us. By deflecting or inducing the hostile energy, we can either reduce the damage sustained or increase the power of our own psychic attack. And finally, Divination. Sion Kai are able to leave their body in a state of suspended animation and in spirit form, explore their immediate surrounding unhindered by physical limitation. The ability is called Spirit Walking. The length of time a Kai Master can Spirit Walk increases as we rise in rank. When the spirit is separated from the body in this fashion, the body remains... Oh, thank you, Impuli, for the raid. Thank you very much. Baboy's raid. So yeah, when the spirit is separated from the body in this fashion, the body remains inanimate and vulnerable to attack. If a Kai Master's body is killed while we spirit walk, our spiritual self will cease to exist and vice versa. So, in the end, it pretty much comes down to this. We have 3 disciplines that remain to be taken. Animal Mastery, Invisibility, and Huntsmanship. So yeah, we might as well also take a look. If we take Hunt Mastery, we are also gonna finish the Lore Circle of Fire, which is gonna give us 1 extra combat skill point and 2 extra endurance point. And it is also going to help fill up the Solaris Circle. Oops. Sorry. I mean, I've taken my screenshot. Yep, there we go. I mean, invisibility will be one more step toward being able to get the Solaris weapon cycle. Invisibility also grants us the ability to mask our body heat and everything, the ability to take the appearances of people, to adapt their dialect. But yeah, Hunt Mastery will give us more combat skill, and it's also going to make it so that we're no longer going to need to have meals into our inventory, because Hunt Mastery will allow us to eat no matter wherever we go. I mean, there's only one way to know, and again, Hunt Mastery will make it so that we're immediately gonna get 1 extra combat skill point, which is definitely not, yeah, have any books been invisibility heavy? Not really. Like, so far, we've definitely been able to get through with just our basic abilities. Yeah, not starving after we fall in the river again might be nice. Alright, there we go. That's what we do. It's time for Hunt Mastery. Alright, and with all that said and done... Yep. Oops, that's not the same taint of purple. Okay, there we go. Yeah, when the sword fucks us, it fucks us less. So, alright, with that we gain 1 extra combat skill point. 37, and 2 more endurance point. 31 out of 27. Alright! And with all that said and done, that's it! We have actually survived the dungeons of Torgar, as well then the ability to go... yeah. I don't know what this message is, but thank you very much. But yeah, all in all, a lot definitely has happened. It's supposed to be the victory fanfare. Yeah. No, it's yeah, we spent very little time in the dungeons of Torgar. Oh, I have returned from an Iron Chitlin. Let's play. What's up? Yep, we just finished. Alright, anyway, that will be it. So, yeah.